All right, and we're back. Like I said, cutting these ethics is it's not that hard, but you know, being such heavy metal, this is where I get my biggest variance. So it's really important to match up my heaviest arrow with my lightest insert and so on and so forth. So over here I have the 11 arrows all weighed up and measured from 343.4 to 344.4. So all within a grain, like I said, and the first 8 are within 0.2 grains of each other. So I'm hoping that these ethics weigh up pretty good. They need to be in that 150 range, 149.4. They can be a little heavier, but if I find some giant variance, I'll either start over or I'll try to go grind a little bit off. I did take a little kind of chamfered the edge around, so they'll go in the end of the carbon really well once we get all that cleaned up with alcohol and Q-tips and stuff. So we'll go through and weigh them up and go from there. That's all we can do. First one out of the gate, 149.2. $150.8. So a pretty good swing there. That's 151. I mean, we're talking grains, you know, so how crazy do you want to get? Hadn't found anything heavier than my heaviest or lighter than my lightest, so as long as we stay in the middle, I'll be good with that. Pretty consistent all in all. So here's, for example, this one's 148.4. So it's really on the light side of what we're trying to do. So I might put that one back in the box and get another one. And they're back to 149.8, which I have a lot in that range, which is, you know, 0.2 off of where we should be. So I'm gonna go cut one more real quick and then come back, and what we'll do is we'll just dry match them up so there's no getting them mixed up. We'll start taking the lightest, we'll go from the heaviest to the lightest, and these are the heaviest and these are the lightest, so we'll just start matching them up and set them aside. Then we'll pull them all out, clean it all up, and get to gluing them up. I'll be right back. I left the camera rolling just to show you it just really doesn't take that long to cut them and kind of chamfer that edge a little bit. We'll see where we ended up. All right, this one is 150.2, so it's right in the ball game. So it is the 5th one over. So now we'll just take them. Like I said, I keep saying it over and over, but you know, if you just keep adding all these grains up, it matters. But if you keep just doing heaviest to lightest, I find that, you know, you're pretty close at the end. Some people think it might not be a big deal. I didn't when I first started. You know, I'd have arrows 7 grains apart from each other like it was no big deal. And do they fly down course? Absolutely. They keep going, but if we're trying to get consistent and get those groups tightened up and things like that, I think you really need to worry about your wobble, worry about the tune on your bow, worry which broadheads are flying best out of your setup. You know, some broadheads just don't fly well out of my setup. They're like, oh, your bow's out of tune, your bow's out of tune. I'm sitting over here shooting bullet holes and working on my release and my grip and all this stuff, and you know, it's just like, no, my setup just does not like that broadhead, and that's okay. There's tons of broadheads out on the market, and I have a whole box full of all of them. You know, I got $3,000 worth of freaking broadheads in there of all different shapes and sizes and kinds and stuff, and some fly better out of my old setup of my RX-7 than they do with the new RX-8, which I'm working on. So, but we're just trying to get it as precise as possible without, you know, completely geeking out. And I really enjoy doing it. So that's all there is to it. So let's just get to matching them up, and then we'll go from there. So heaviest arrow, lightest insert. You don't have to go crazy, but just kind of get it stuck in there to where they're staying with each other. So then you don't have to marry them back up again, because we got to take them all back apart to clean them and get the glue glued down. Then once we get them all glued up, you know, glue adds a little bit of weight. It does. You got glue on your fletchings, you got glue on your inserts. It adds up a little bit. So I'm not saying it adds 18 grains, but you know, it adds up after a while. So might as well try, if you're going to do something, try to do it the best you can. You know, if you mess something up, you got a fletching that's half-ass stuck, you know, instead of just trying to throw some glue back on it or something, take that thing off and start over. You know, that's just going to be the best route to go. Clean it with some, you know, clean it with your denatured alcohol, or fuel is what they call it up at the big box stores, and then go from there. So we're getting close here. Now, if I was really smart about it, you'd go through and you just keep track of this stuff, but I got the time, and wife went to visit her father, so I'm just sitting here farting around waiting on some football to start. So I'll reweigh them and remark it, and then I'll grab. I think what I'm gonna go with are these Boning 3-inch X series. They have a little weight. I'm not concerned about overall weight, but I'm concerned about balance of weight. That's why I used to run 300 grains up front, a 200 grain insert and a 100 grain broadhead. And people are just like, man, that's just so heavy, you're crazy, even the bow shop, you know. But that's okay. That's what I prefer to do with my setup. You do your setup however you want. You know, Chris B and them are you know, in that 400 to 450 range and flying, but I don't shoot like Chris B, you know, so I'm not shooting that far and doing all that stuff. So, and I love all his content and stuff. We just choose to go heavy. That's Jeff and I, Texas Hill Country Hog Hunters. So I'm going to go with these new Boning X vanes. They're 3 inches, 9/16 tall, and I'm going to do 3 on a right helical. That's what I have set up in my jig. I got into left helical, right helical, how it comes out spinning, and I videoed a left and a right. I'll show you. I made 2 arrows up earlier that earlier in the week that are left helical, right helical. Bow wants to go left. They say 90% of the strings that the bows want to go left. Man, if I couldn't tell the difference. I don't know if I don't shoot well enough. I mean, I think I shoot okay, but I don't think I could tell a difference between the right and the left. At the end of the day, I think it's just a, it's a nominal thing that you can play with if you want. And I played with it and went left for a little while because my bow's spinning left. Bear tuned it, Bear shafted it in close, and sure enough, it's turning left like they say 90% do. But you go to all the archery shops and all that, they're fletching everything to the right when everything's turning to the left. So obviously it's not that big of a deal. Most of the stuff that you get pre-fletched, which I don't get anymore, all that stuff comes either straight or to the right. Ordered some broadheads that spin to the left, and I put left helicals on them and these left iron wheels, and I like them, their company, everything they stand for, but they don't spin well. So everything I got spins well to the right. So we're going to the right with the X series boning, semi-hard, and I like the little cutout. I just like how it looks. And we'll just go all white, and we'll mark our index, which one goes up in our bow. So we're gonna weigh everything again. Then we're gonna get 3 of each of these and weigh them up and mark it out how much, and then go lightest to heaviest and see if we can't get this thing a little bit tighter. Bear with me. First one came out of the gate, 493.8. Put something over here to hold it. And 494. So, I mean, those are really close after all we've done to them. We're basically down to gluing and fletching. $493.8. $494. So they're all right there. If we can get these fletchings to come out of the pack and be pretty consistent, then we should get some arrows that are all about the same. And $494 again. The lightest one yet is 493.6. So everything's still within a half a grain of each other at this point. So I'm pretty happy with that. 494.2. But we'll just keep doing it. Those points matter. So we'll just keep going with it. 494.2. And the last one, let's see where we are. 494.2. All right, so now these are all heaviest to lightest. We'll get these bonings out, get 3 mixed up, and we'll keep the piles separated so we know what's what. And if we need to mix and match some fletchings to kind of get consistent. So So right now we're from 493.8 to 494.6. So everything's still within inside a grain of each other in 11 arrows. So we'll just grab 3 and see what we come up with. We got 29.6 with the first round. See, here's where it goes. I said 29.6. This round is 30.2. So you're almost, 0.6 in grains, and that can make up some of this difference that we have over here. Fumbling over here, but that's all right. Then we're right at 30. And these are really light, 29.4. If they get too light to where they're not going to work, we won't use them. We'll just get some more. Another 29.6. $29.8. Another 29.8. Try to keep those 3 with the other 3, Maybe one slightly up, heavier than the other one, 29.6. See, like this one's 30.8. It's way out of whack. I'm gonna put it to the side and see. We'll do some math on it to see. I don't think we have any variant over here that's that big. So another 29.6. And I'm kind of going off, if I can get 7 or 8 arrows that weigh the same. Quiver only holds 6, then we're doing really good. Here's another 30.2, but it's not outlandish like this 30.8 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's another 29.6. Now what I'm going to do is erase my lowest and my top and mix and match a few veins to see if we can't get that 30.8 and this 29.4 a little closer. So that's 30.2, which is a little more reasonable. And this is another 29.6. So took the heaviest and the lightest and kind of mixed them around a little bit to make it work. There's obviously a heavier fletching in there, and I can't get into worrying about one of the go through, and you could get in there and worry about which one is, doing its, which one is the crazy one. But we're between 29.6 and 30.2. So we're within 0.6, slightly over half a grain with all the fletchings. Over here, we're at 0.6 to 0.4. So we're going to be pretty close in there by the time we get them all put together. We'll glue one of these inserts up. I'll show you how I'll do that. And then I'll let you go, and then we'll come back, and when we start putting on the vanes, we'll go from there. So we'll just take the heaviest one, keep it in order. I like running the dry down there, through there first. I feel like the Q-tips do a good job of getting a lot of the gunk off and stuff like that from the cutting. So then you're not just rubbing that, getting that alcohol in there and mixing all that stuff up with the alcohol. So give it one clean little push through. Then we'll get some alcohol on it. And we'll give it a good twist. You got to get down in there pretty far with these ethics. And then go ahead and clean off your insert as well. Let those dry for a second. Then we'll talk about glue. I've been doing the bone collector stuff. I'm 47. So T-Bone and Waddell and Nick Lentz and them, you know, and talking about the dojo and all that stuff. I just feel like T-Bone knows what he's talking about. So I've been doing the gorilla, and I'm in the construction industry, and I see this stuff grow and expand. So it only makes sense. And when you have a pretty tight fit from your insert to your ID of your shaft, and you got the Gorilla Glue in there, and it's got these little grooves in there, you know, that Gorilla gets in there and kind of expands. You know, you don't want to expand it too much where it, you know, worries, you know, messing up the inside of your shaft. That'd take a lot of pressure to do that. So I like this Gorilla Glue. It expands, and I hadn't had an insert come out yet. And these hit pretty hard, and you got a lot of weight in there. So they, you know, I've seen one move before, but I've never seen one come out. When they hit hard, used to have 300 grains stopping and still trying to go, you know, by the time that shaft got held up on these targets and stuff. But besides that, I hadn't had any one out of Lord knows how many arrows. So regular old Gorilla Glue is what I like to use. Isn't that right, buddy? I just get it all around pretty good. I don't worry about getting too much because you're going to get it all off when it presses out. I get in there and I twist it and push it all the way down in there, and that excess starts coming out. I get about a 1/2 inch from the end and I pull it out. And then I go back in again. And right before I close it, I take my rag, should do a paper towel, which I normally do, but I don't want to get up for the video. About a 1/4 inch left, and I like a little bit getting on the bottom of that shoulder to where the shaft end and the back side of that shoulder of that ethics, they kind of marry together too. Give it a good press and clean up the excess. And that's 1 of 10 glued up nice. Now, with that Gorilla Glue, when it dries, you'll get a little bit of bubbling right there. You just go in with your fingernail here in about 5 hours. I give these 24 hours overnight for that Gorilla Glue to set up. I've tried different kind of glues and crazy glues and super glues and stuff, and get that insert in there halfway, and that shit starts setting up before you can even get it in there, and it's a nightmare. This kind of, I don't plan on shooting this arrow for 24 hours. Let the vane set up, let the insert set up, you know, and go from there. That's it. So I'll get all these glued up. We'll come back and I'll show you how I fletch one up. I'm not a pro, but that's how I do it, and we'll go from there. Thank you.